May the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Perhaps a reading from Matthew we just heard was new to you. For others who have been involved in the church for years, or perhaps just love to delve into the Gospels, this parable was quite familiar. It's found in Matthew, but also in Mark and Luke, but slightly different. When we encounter things that are very familiar, we often hear, but don't listen. Hearing is defined as the act of perceiving sound by the ear and happens for those who are not hearing impaired. Listening, on the other hand, is an art that requires a conscious effort so that your brain is able to process meaning in words and sentences. Take a moment to recall what was going on in your mind while you were hearing the gospel read. Were you listening? Distracted? Perhaps your mind raced forward to the end because it's so familiar. Sometimes familiarity with the text or a person keeps us from listening. If a friend or relative is going through a tough time, say a long period of stress, and has relied upon you as the person to support them, it could be that when at some point in time, depending on how you're feeling, their name pops up on your phone, and inside your mind you're saying, oh no, that's him again. I can't take it. I can't hear those troubles anymore. Well, maybe the reality is that you're tired of listening because you have not heard. Or wait a minute, you're tired of hearing. I got to reverse. You're tired of hearing because you have not listened. In the text from Matthew, Jesus said, listen. A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell on a path that were consumed by a bird. Some fell on the ground where there wasn't much soil, sprang up quickly, and died. Some fell among thorns, and those very thorns grew and choked them out. Some fell on good soil and grew in abundance. We think of this as the parable of the sower and consider that person reckless in their actions. Now, who does that? Takes a lot of seed and just scatters here and there without any type of forethought or looking at the ground, the source in which the seeds will rest. So I consider that we not think about this as a parable of the sower, but rather that this parable is about the seed. And we are the seed, that is the church. Each of us individually, collectively making up the church, we are seeds. In Matthew 18:20, Jesus said, for where there are 2 or 3 gathered in my name, I am in the midst of them. We know Jesus is needed in the midst of 2 or 3 when gathered because there's always the potential for dispute. The likelihood of disagreement increases when we do not listen. When we come to situations peddling our own agendas, what our ears receive is blah, 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 yada, 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 wah, 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 wah. As impatiently we wait for an opportunity to add our 2 cents. Through the parable, Jesus reminds us, when anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in the heart, what is sown on the path. As for what was sown on rocky ground, this is the one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. Yet such a person has no root, but endures only for a while. And when trouble or persecution arises on account of the word, that on account of that word, the person immediately falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is the one who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the lure of wealth choke the word, and it yields nothing. But as for what was sown on good soil, this is the one who hears the word and understands, who indeed bears fruit and yields in one case 100-fold, another 60, and another 30. That person hears the word and understands because they have listened. Understanding comes as a result of listening. Have you ever wondered why so many people who are involved with organized religion have trouble getting along? We could start with elected officials, for example. If you did a little bit of research, you would find that nearly all of them claim to be part of a faith community. They may be Zooming into worship right now, like you are, or watching through Facebook or YouTube, or watching later on at their leisure. Hearing the word, however, but not listening. The word is heard, conversations are had, Zoom meetings begin and end, people talking, but not necessarily listening to one another. Our reading from Genesis is a good example of what it means to listen, although the outcome not the best for one of these brothers. Genesis 25 is a story of twin boys, Esau and Jacob. We're told that when the boys grew up, Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, while Jacob was a quiet man living in tents. Isaac, their father, loved Esau because he was fond of game hunting. But we're told Rebekah loved Jacob. If we are to take this literally, Jacob was not loved by his father, and Esau not loved by his mother, Rebekah. Now we know that this was most likely not the case. It has been noted, however, that parents who have more than one child usually have a favorite one that they resonate with more so, identify with more. Siblings always know this to be a truth. I'm the eldest of 4 children, and the brother closest to me in age. Years ago, while growing up, we called him the golden child because in our parents' eyes, he could do no wrong. They just didn't know. So Jacob witnesses this preferential affection towards his brother Esau. Then the story continues. Once, when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau came in from the field and he was famished. Esau said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stuff. I'm hungry, man." Jacob said, "First, sell me your birthright." Esau said, "I'm about to die. Of what use is a birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore and sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and lentil stew, and he ate it and drank and rose and went on his merry way, not really realizing what he'd sacrificed. Jacob listened to Esau. Jacob didn't hear the cry of a hungry man. He listened and interpreted it as an opportunity to take advantage of his brother and his weakness and ask for that birthright. Remember, when they are born, these twins are born, we're told that it is Jacob who is holding on to the heel of Esau as they come out of the womb. Jacob has become a skilled listener. That's how con artists are able to be successful. They are skilled listeners. Great mediators and negotiators are skilled listeners. As followers of Christ, we are called to be skilled listeners, listeners for things that are good, not things that are evil, not trying to take advantage of other people as Jacob did. Active listening is an art that anyone can learn with practice and patience. Yes, we hear, but do we listen? Mesa Community College has created the 10 commandments of effective listening. Here they are. The first one, no surprise, stop talking. The second one, pay attention to the speaker. Make eye contact, silence your cell phone. While on Zoom, mute your thoughts. Number 3, pay attention to nonverbal language, body language. Listen and ask clarifying questions. Know exactly what the other person said. Share a summary at the end of their thoughts. Is this what I heard you say? Just to clarify. Be aware of tune out words. Now, these are words that strike an emotional chord and will cause you to shut down and just revert to hearing, not listening. It becomes blah, 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 because an emotional word has struck a chord. Be aware of hidden emotional meanings that come through when the tone of voice changes or certain words are emphasized. Be patient. Don't interrupt the speaker. Number 9, hold your temper. Don't let your emotions interfere with your listening efficacy. Try to empathize with the speaker. Number 10. Each of these can be a challenge at one time or another. We are living in an era that is filled with a plethora of verbiage moving around just like the wind. It comes from news media, Facebook, Twitter, television, op-eds, and idle gossipers. We may be so saturated that we have little room to even listen to God, listen to friends, listen to family, or even to listen to our own selves. We hear, but are we listening? This week, I encourage you to practice listening, listening for good. Allow your listening soil to be fertilized with goodwill, humility, and the Spirit of Christ. Listen for enlightenment and understanding. When we listen, seeds are planted that just may very well grow and flourish. We hear, but let's practice listening. Amen.